and welcome back to DMG. I found this whole thing in the e-waste. It is a whole camera in the box with all the accessories. So, if it's in the box with all the stuff and it looks barely used, some of the accessories aren't even opened, why did someone get rid of it? Like, is it just that bad? Well, today we're going to be finding out. So this is, I mean, just from the box, you can tell this is not some big brand, video camera. Literally all it says on the whole box is digital video camera. So let's get into the box. I found it like this. All the stuff in here. Now we have this little bag for it that says DV Cam. And that got a laugh out of me at first because I'm pretty sure DV Cam is an actual format. And it is a tape format, and it's from Sony, I believe, if I recall correctly. So, the fact that they're calling a digital camera that probably records to an SD card DV Cam is pretty funny. Anyway, here's the camera itself. It doesn't feel very cheap. Like, it actually has some weight to it, but they're kind of clearly copying a Sony camera. This looks just like some of the Sony video cameras that I use for filming events. I mean, even in the back, this looks like these Sony batteries. We've got this screen, and oh, that is the worst feeling hinge on the planet. And you can tell from that sound that it's kind of thin plastic. They even have, like, the texture of Sony cameras. DVC, digital video camera, here. Let's see, Okay, so that's a plastic lens, 16x powerful zoom. So this is probably just like a webcam sensor that they've put in this camera body. It's actually a reasonably large sensor for these, like, knockoff cameras. So I commend it for that. Let's see what else we have in the box. We have stereo microphone. Interesting. So we have switches here for plus 20 or minus 10 decibels, or just... Does this have its own power? Yes, it does. So it has its own power source. And then there are options for, if you want the low end to be chopped off a little. Where do I put the batteries in? Oh, that's actually cool. It has a rechargeable battery. The thing I don't like about my new mic for my big camera that I bought a little while ago is it actually takes 2 AAAs. So if this mic is any good, the mic actually might be the one part of this that I continue using. We also have this thing. And I'm not 100% sure, but I think you're supposed to do this and carry the camera like that. Again, I'm not 100% sure, but I don't know how else you would use it. And this is actually, it's plastic, but it's sturdy plastic. Like, it's not, super flexible and cheap feeling. We have, I wonder if the microphone was included with the camera, or if it was just a separate thing that was just thrown away with the camera, because we have a user manual for the microphone. We'll look at that in a second. Then we have user manual for the camera. Oh, remote. Oh, that's actually really cool. The camera has a remote with, like, shutter buttons on it. We have a lens hood and another part of the lens hood, I suppose, a something. Okay, so maybe the mic was included with the camera, because this is actually a pretty good little cable that goes from the mic to the camera. Here is this just like a charging cable? What are you? I can't quite see it through the bag, and it doesn't look like a connector I recognize. What the heck? Oh, it's like the weird mini HDMI to full-size HDMI. A lot of cameras use this little HDMI. Allen key for something. A bag, probably for the remote. USB brick, what's the spec on this? 5 volt 1 amp. And another one of those batteries still sealed. Alright, so that's it from the box. Let me put all the little plastic bits and stuff back in. Is the battery charged enough to just turn on? No, it's not. Let's see, under here. Oh, that's actually kind of a nice feature. The door just slides into the camera body. So we have USB-B, audio in, and the HDMI out. Okay, under here it looks like is our memory card, and then that's... Oh, that's very funny. It only uses 2 contacts for the battery, despite the battery having 3. So yeah, you can't put like an actual Sony battery in this if you were wondering. It still has an SD card, or, well, micro SD and an adapter in it. Oh, sweet. Well, there's a free 32 gig card, I suppose. I'm gonna go check if there's video on it, and if it's video I can show. In the meanwhile, while the laptop is booting up, I will plug in the camera. There are some files on the card. It looks okay. It's actually not too awful. But it definitely does look like a webcam sensor. Let me see if there's any I can show you. This is... Actually, no. All of these have faces in them. That's the issue. Actually, no. This is just someone pointing it at the ground and walking. Obviously, this is not the best demonstration, but... Okay, so its zoom is probably digital zoom, because that doesn't look too good. Frame rate stutters. I mean, I'm going to take my own videos in a second. I just wanted to see if there was anything I could use to quickly demonstrate it. I want to try putting on the lens hood. So it... Well, that doesn't work. Does it have to... Does this screw onto the inside of the... Okay, yeah. And then this... Alright. Oh, that is some cheap plastic there. It looks so goofy seeing this cheap camera with the big... Oh god, that's so funny. What are you for? Does this... I'm not going to read the manual because manuals are for losers. Does that go there? And then... Yeah, to block out a little more light. So that goes there, and you have to hold it in place while you screw this in. Alright. Well, that is really funny looking. Alright, let's put the mic on for our maximum performance here. Oh, this is just... this is the silliest looking thing. I've seen these on Amazon. They're like $100 for this camera. It's just... Oh, well, I guess it died immediately. Like, why would you pay $100 for this? I feel really bad because, you know, if you don't know much about cameras, you might see that it has all these accessories and be like, oh wow, this must be a good, like, professional camera. And you buy it and it's literally a webcam sensor glued to the cheapest screen ever. Like, if I were to go out and buy all the individual components to this thing, like this sensor, I could probably get one of those modules for like $5. Okay, so here's our goofy camera. This... And like, the thing is, I'm used to handling professional cameras that are Well, they look like this because I work in the AV business in my spare time. Oh, also, you can't put the lens cap on when the lens hood is on. That is unfortunate. But I'm used to handling cameras like this, with the grip up here, and oh, well, that's pretty flawed. If you bend it downwards, this just moves because the camera is too light. Anyway, it's just tricking my brain seeing a camera like this, but it's cheap and awful instead of like a camera that's thousands of dollars that I'm borrowing to film an event. Like, oh, this is tragic. 36 megapixels is definitely a lie. It looks more like 3.6, if I'm being entirely honest. But let's look through our user manual to see what, oh good, what we've got going on here. It tells you to back up the data on the memory card to a floppy disk before you format it. And okay, yeah, actually one photo from this camera could fit on a floppy disk because each photo is like 1 megabyte. That's the quality you get out of this 36 megapixel camera. I believe my main camera that I'm filming this with is 15 megapixels or something like that. It's a Nikon D5100. So anyway, whatever megapixel my main camera is, if this is 36, which it obviously isn't, okay, so it says right here, image sensor 8 megapixel CMOS image sensor. And movies can do 1920 by 1080, 1280 by 720, or 640 by 480 if you are a masochist. And looks like the max resolution for image, okay, so it can save the images as 36 megapixel, 7936 by 4480, even though the sensor is only 8 megapixels. So yeah, I will charge this thing up and go film some footage with it, and then I will, well, I'll just put it on screen for you to see. But obviously, I can't just test it on its own. I need a good comparison. And honestly, I think the fairest comparison will be this. Now, this is about a 15-year-old point-and-shoot camera. When I was first starting my channel, I bought this for about $25, new old stock, with all the accessories on eBay. And it served me quite well. It does solid 720p 30 video, and I've used it as my camera for side shots and you know, shots that are less important than the main camera, but I still want captured. And I've been using this for several years, and honestly, I see no reason to replace it, to like go out and buy a new camera, because, you know, it serves its purpose quite well. So, the fact that this is like $100 camera that you can go out and buy brand new, and this is 15 years old, and nowadays you can probably get one for like $15 on eBay. The fact that that's the fairest comparison, I think, says all you need to know about the camera up there. But anyway, let's get right into the comparison. Just doing a midday walk around campus with the Canon PowerShot camera. I have it on all automatic settings: automatic focus, automatic brightness control, automatic stabilization, because, you know, I would assume if you don't know much about cameras, you'll just set everything to auto and let it do the work. I'm holding the camera at chest level, about a foot away from my body with both hands, and I can't see the screen because it's on the back of the camera, but from my experience in the past, I've actually filmed some, you know, some videos for friends like this, for school projects, and it's worked quite well. Considering it's 2024, you can certainly get a better camera on a cell phone, but I will always prefer an actual camera, so to speak, even if it's a point and shoot like this one, to a cell phone. because you get manual controls, there's more stuff you can adjust. I like the physical buttons instead of just pressing things on a screen. And for me, it's always been more convenient to just take out the SD card and put it in my computer and copy over the files than worry about, you know, everything else a phone can do. It's also less distracting while filming. Now it's time to do the same thing with the unbranded camera. Now, you will probably immediately notice it's less stable, and that's because the grip is really awful. I'm using all the optional accessories, so that includes the lens hood, the microphone, and the grip. Now the grip, most proper ones on nice cameras balance out the weight. However, this one, all of the weight is at the front, because of course, that's where the camera is. So, it's really uncomfortable to hold, and it's already starting to hurt my wrist. So what I'm actually going to do is put a hand on the camera, and you can probably see that it's already better and more stable. Another complaint is that if you have the grip installed, you can't have the mic pointing backwards. Now typically if I'm standing behind the camera, I want to have the mic pointing backwards because then it picks up my voice a lot better. However, I always have to have it pointing forwards if I'm using the grip. I like how the screen can be tilted in pretty much any direction. That's always convenient. I like looking at the screen when I use the camera. But another complaint is that the start-stop video button is on the back of the camera, so I have to turn the camera around and press it. Now that is usually not a complaint, but when I'm holding it at chest level, it becomes really annoying. Actually, I'm finding it's more convenient to hold the camera by the middle segment of the grip, not the top. In fact, if I hold it by the middle, it's pretty much just as good as when holding it with two hands. Again, I have it on auto white balance, auto stabilization, auto focus, all that stuff, because there actually is no manual focus. Let me test the zoom on, oh yes, this is digital zoom. There is no optical zoom on this camera, and the digital zoom does not look good because the sensor resolution is so low. On the Canon PowerShot, I think you get 8x optical zoom, and then you get 4x digital zoom once the optical zoom has run out because the lens has zoomed as far as it can. Now I'm going to unplug the accessory microphone and see what the camera's internal microphone sounds like. Now I'm using the camera's internal mic because after charging the camera for an hour, the battery died while I was just about to test the camera's internal microphone. Well, I've gone back and watched the footage, and it's safe to say that this is proof that an old, good camera will always be better than a new, crappy, cheap camera. And let me remind you that this one is like 5 times the price if you buy it new. Also, the battery died before I got to test the camera's internal microphone. It's odd, I charged it for about an hour, and it already died after about 5 minutes of use. But here's a test of the internal microphone. Might completely be not understandable at all. Also, it said on a 32 gig card that I only had an hour of recording, and that's very odd. On my main camera, which is a lot better, I get a good 6 to 8 hours on a 64 gig card. So that means on this one that's much worse, I should get at minimum 3 to 4 hours. So I have no idea what sort of compression they're using, but it's very not good. I think that's where I'm going to wrap up the video. The Canon is the obvious winner here, and this one is, well, now I understand why it was in the e-waste. I'm going to keep it around, always good to have more cameras for side shots, Probably won't use the mic because it's awful and it's muffled, and it doesn't have real stereo, and it sounds worse than the built-in mic in a bunch of my cameras. But that's it. That's going to wrap it up for this video. Thanks everyone for watching. Don't buy one of these, and I hope to see you next time.